Waterhouse were left cursing their luck versus Mount Pleasant. The defending champions blast their way past Tivoli, and the Stars of the East are slowly making their way up the table. But we start one place and one place only, and that's at the Waterhouse Mini Stadium, where the Junglers tripped up against the New Boys. This is Match Week 7 Review Show. Yeah, people, welcome back to Jump Hill Fun. We got a full slate of games this past weekend, so without further ado, let's head out to Jewsland, where Arnett took on Treasure Beach. We will begin with the Junglers' first 11. Former Waterhouse defender Zakia Wilkes gets a start. Ramon Shepherd captains in from midfield, which means there is no Fabian Reid, who was replaced by Shantamari Taylor up front. As for the visitors, former Junglers Kevon McGregor only made the bench. Attacking midfielder Jaheim Harris misses out on the starting as well, and Afiba Chambers captains in Shaquille Jones' continued absence. So when the game kicked off, both teams were a bit slow out of the blocks. Treasure Beach would be the one to settle first, but it would be Arnett via Kelson to crack the game's first shot on target. From there, the game settled into an interesting routine where the Junglers enjoyed more of the ball, while Treasure Beach compacted midfield and deployed a man-to-man marking. This meant that the Junglers had to tread lightly, but Bennett was not cautious enough right here and gave the ball straight to Livingston, who composed himself but failed to punish Bennett for his crimes. A massive chance went begging for the promoted team. As for Bennett, no doubt he was massively relieved to get away with that one, but the man seemed to be a daredevil and tested fate once again moments after, but credit to him, he once again cleaned up his own mess. 0-0 it remained. Arnett though was having a hard time progressing the ball through the lines and would give up another chance to Treasure Beach, this time via Hardy down the left, but the angle was too acute for the former Molynes winger. At the opposite end of the field, most of Arnett's attacks was coming through Kelson, especially after Roderick Granville left the game early due to a head injury. It was almost an instant impact for his replacement, Shea Smith, but his follow-up shot and the rebound went well wide. That would be the last major action before the halftime break. Second half now, and we saw a change in approach from the Junglers. They were now full on more running and pressing out of possession. It left the game into an even state with no clear chances from either team for the first 15 minutes of the second half. Treasure Beach head coach Kemar Ricketts noticed and he decided to add fresh legs and made a rare four-man substitution that saw the likes of Harris, McGregor and Kareem Bryan all entering the game to provide fresh legs. But it would be Arnett to break the stand off and finally produce a meaningful chance when they tried to find an opening in the box before the ball eventually fell to Shea Smith, who swung a boot at it, but once again the shot went wide. The game was just drifting along until Harris did well to intercept this long pass that somehow stayed in play and was picked up by McGregor, who didn't hesitate to take on Wilkes and proved to be too fast for the defender and drew a penalty. No, there were some questions if he was actually in the box, but I personally can't tell from these camera angles, so I had no problem that they headed to the spot. And it would be Jaheim Harris to take it, and he made no mistake from the spot to give Treasure Beach a late lead. From there, the game got stretched and Treasure Beach had a few moments to extend that lead on the counter, but it would be the Junglers who would come the closest to find the game's next goal deep in injury time. First, from this delicious cross from the right that found youngster Dexter Manning completely free in the 6-yard box, but the former Tivoli man managed to only find metal. Then a minute later, it would be Marlon Martin's turn to rattle the crossbar from this set piece. It was just not meant to be Arnett's night, and Treasure Beach completed a famous victory not long after. So it was an interesting game, but how were the game match stats? The Junglers had more of the ball with 58%, and they also made more attempts with 15 to Treasure Beach 13. 9 was on target for Arnett, while Treasure Beach only had 4. And the visitors got whistled for 4 fouls, which were all carded each time. So let's begin with Arnett Gardens here. Obviously not their best game, but they weren't all that bad either. But we also witnessed a clear weakness in their team that without Fabian Reid, their attack lacks a clear focal point to bring their attack together. They will need a proper backup number 9 come January. As for Treasure Beach, again, a lot of credit has to go to the coaching staff. They came here with a clear plan and it proved to be effective. Treasure Beach are such a well-drilled unit, and if they can just tighten up in certain areas, they won't have to worry about relegation come season's end. But anyway, once again this one ended Arnett Garden 0, Treasure Beach 1. We now move on to the next opening game that saw Harbour taking on Dunbeholden. First, the Stars of the East started 11. There's a debut for summer signing Alexander Jacob. Omar Thompson also makes a return, and so too does midfielder Demar Rose. As for Dunbeholden, it's a centre-back pairing of Pennycook and Matthews. Clive Weatherbrown kept his spot, and Nikai Christian is the man with the armband. Now, when the game started, it would be Dunbeholden to be slightly quicker out of the blocks, but on what was essentially Harbourview first spell of possession, they drew the referee into making a crucial decision. Omar Thompson saw his attempted cross block by Ricardo Beckford, and the ball ricocheted and hit his hand while he completed his movement. The referee made up her mind pretty quickly and pointed to the spot, and I must admit this one looked a bit harsh in my eyes. Nonetheless, it would be Captain Trayvon Reed to take it, and after a lengthy wait, he eventually gave his team the lead, 1-0. Credit to Dunbeholden, they made the appropriate response, and after they worked the ball out to Beckford out on the right, the left back almost made an immediate redemption, but his shot flew over. From here, we got a bit of a back and forth between the two teams, and the Stars of the East came close again to find another goal after Brown chest passed to Rose, but the midfielder only could find the bar after chipping the goalkeeper. Up until this point, Dunbeholden's danger man Nicholas Nelson was kept fairly quiet, but his opposite number, Trayvon Reed, was enjoying himself and almost got his second after teaming up with Rowan Brown, but John-Luke Wilmot showed good reflexes to tip the shot over the bar. 1-0 it remained, and that would be the last major action of the first half. Second half now, and Dunbeholden's head coach David Gordon brought on forward Stevie Barnett to help out Nelson up front, but it would again be Harbourview with another big chance, but this one would go sailing into safety despite Rose's best effort. Dunbeholden from here saw more of the ball but lacked ideas on exactly how to find a way through Harbourview's defense. They would try the direct route once more after Beckford was picked out here, and he then delivered a very good cross into the box, but Barnett could only manage to stop his shot wide. They would go on and keep up the pressure, but to no avail, as the final whistle will come not too long after that, giving all 3 points to the Stars of the East. So one penalty proved to be the difference, but how was the game in terms of stats? Dunbeholden really pushed for it in the end and thus had more possession with 60%. They also produced more total shots with 10 to Harbourview's 6. The Stars of the East had more on target, however, with 4 compared to Dunbeholden's 2. And there were 3 offside calls, and they all came against Stephen Barnett. Okay, so let's begin with Dunbeholden. Head coach Damon Gordon was far from happy about the penalty call after the match, and while he might have a case here, his team's over-reliant on Nicholas Nelson to get the goals remained the same. Their main man had an off night, and everyone else fails to step up when called upon. As for the Stars of the East, they may have had some nervous moments in the end, but this was a controlled performance. The form of Trayvon Reed and Rowan Brown continues to move this team forward, but Gavin Burton and Alexander Jacob were also outstanding on the night. Anyway, once again it ended Harbourview 1, Dunbeholden 0. So the Stars of the East are moving up the table, where at the summit lies Montego Bay United. They hope to remain there after their trip to Clarendon to take on the Maroons. First, the starting 11 for the home team. There's a rare start for Riquelme Edwards in goal. Ray Campbell also makes an appearance, and veteran striker Levon Williams returned to the starting lineup. As for the visitors, it's a Smith invasion as both Ronaldo and Romario starts the match. Jordan Fletcher kept his spot up front, and Matthew Wu Ling started against some familiar faces. Now, it will be argued that Montego Bay actually started the game the better, but the Maroons and Williams would get the game's first big chance, but they went begging. But Mobe weren't totally out of danger just yet, as a few moments after, they would concede a penalty. Last week, Captain Andrew Vanzi was in goal trying to save a penalty. This week, he's taking one and scoring one. 1-0 to the Maroons, and they were rewarded for their fast start. It was a decent enough reply from Mobe, who held possession well before producing it into a look at goal. It was a team effort in the end, but sign of things to come. They will come even closer right after that with this cross shot that almost snuck in, but the Maroons were saved by the upright. But Mobay were in total control at this point and had the Maroons pinned back in their own half as they searched for the equalizer. All that pressure would eventually bust pipe in the 31st minute when former Harbourview man Akima Jones managed to get his free kick over Edwards and into the back of the net. 1-1, and we all knew that goal was coming. Mobay would also have another huge opportunity not long after that via Fletcher down the right, and while he did well to keep the defenders guessing, in the end they managed to do their job. At the other end, Burton in Mobay's goal didn't have much to do since a penalty, but he would be shaken back into life after this Maroon set piece led to him not making just one but two saves at point blank range to keep Mobay leveled. Then, a few moments later, some lazy defending from Chapelton opened them up to a counter, but Jordan Fletcher didn't keep his eyes on the prize and missed this golden opportunity. Somehow, we will be leveled heading into the halftime break. Second half now, and Mobay will be the one to start more on the front foot. They were especially targeting the Maroons' right side as they looked for the go-ahead goal. And it would come not too long after that from a man that's on top of his game right now in Dwight Merrick. I am not sure if the shot was deflected. I may have explained why Edwards was rooted on the spot, but for now, the visitors take the lead. The Maroons tried to muster some kind of immediate reply, but honestly, Mobay remained firmly in control and almost found a third after substitute Jamari Clark raced past everyone in the Chapelton defense, but the ball was just too quick for him in the end. And yet they were this close from almost giving up the lead, but the Maroons were so unlucky that this free kick only managed to find the post and not the net. There would be one more big play in the match, but Clark was once again denied a goal thanks to this great save from Edwards. But it would not matter in the end, as 2 goals were more than enough to give Mobay all 3 points. So the visitors dominated the encounter, but how were the match stats? We have no possession stats to give, but I would need some real convincing that Mobay didn't dominate there. As for total shots, Mobay had 10, while the Maroons made 6. 3 were on target for the hosts, while the visitors had 4 on target. And there was 1 red card that was given to Carlton Brown after he picked up 2 yellow cards. Alright, I will begin with Mobay. It was another impressive showing from the league leaders, especially after giving up that early goal. Everything is clicking for them right now and they just need to keep it going. As for the Maroons, I think it's officially time to worry a bit. That's now only 1 point from 4 games. What's even more worrisome, the goals have dried up. I am not sure if opposing teams have figured them out, but they can't continue like this or they will find themselves at the wrong end of the table come season end. Anyway, once again this one ended. Phoenix Chapelton Maroons 1, Montego United 2. So we move from Clarendon and head all the way back into Kingston, where Tivoli Gardens was hosting defending champs Cavalier. First, the lineup for the home team: Kevin Wilson will be the one of the shields in the back line. Kevin Garnett will play ahead of him in the midfield. And the real big news, take a look at number 10 in the subsection. Yep, that's star player Nicola Fuller, who is finally back. Now, the start 11 for the champs: there's a new face in goal as Demelcio Ferrer makes his debut. Quayne Thompson gets a rare start, and Chad James will be the one to lead the line. No, it was a very slow start by both teams as they took a while to warm up, but it would be the home team with the first shot on target from the throw-in. However, as time went on, Cavalier started to settle down, and Denzel McKenzie especially was starting to have an influence on the match. He would be directly involved in the game's first major talking point. After he skipped a desperate tackle, he then squared up Kevin Wilson before seeing his attempted shot on goal blocked by Wilson's arm. The young attacker was adamant that was a penalty, but all he got was a yellow card from referee Parchment. No, was it the right non-call by the ref? I uploaded this clip to social media earlier and it went semi-viral with many people arguing for and against. All I will say is maybe the ref thought the proximity to hand from the shot was a little bit too close to penalize Wilson. Anyway, the show went on and Cavalier would keep up the pressure and came even closer to finding the lead after this long throw in caused all kinds of problems in Tivoli's box that eventually saw the ball roll off the post before being cleared. Very close to being an own goal right there. It took some time, but Tivoli finally found their footing midway through the half and started to see more of the ball. They would go on and produce a massive chance of their own with this laser accurate pass from Nelson, but between Wellington and Justin Dunn, they somehow messed it up. 0-0 it remains. To make matters worse, right back Alton Lewis had an ankle injury and was forced out of the match early. After that, the whistle would be blown for the halftime break. Here, Tivoli turned to their bench and subbed in star player Fuller for his first appearance of the season, and he will immediately give the fans a taste of what they have been missing, drawing a foul in a dangerous place in the process. Fuller was by far the deadliest free kick taker last season, but on this occasion, I guess he still had some rust to shake off. Cavalier also made attacking changes during the break, bringing on attacker Stein and Richters, and the two almost combined to find the game's opening goal. Stein especially was giving the Tivoli's backline real problems, but they will be thankful the Surinamese international torrid form in front of goal continues on this occasion. A big chance missed for the champs. Up the other end, Fuller was still drawing dangerous foul just outside the box, and on his second free kick attempt, he didn't miss by much. His third free kick would arrive not long after that, and he did well to find a completely free Barton Price in the 6-yard box, but the big centre back missed the gaping goal. Tivoli's confidence was at least growing in stature, and they would go on and produce their best team move here down the right, but once again, they would miss the target. It was always going to be dangerous to keep missing such chances, because when you have the chance pinned down to the mat, you just have to finish them off. And in the 78th minute, they got a reminder why. Just look at this spectacular free kick from young Christopher Ainsworth. Wow, a thing of beauty and a goal worthy of winning any game. 1-0, the champs lead late. Now, any chance the home team had to get back into the game was dealt a huge blow when Johnny Williams tripped up Richters on his way to goal. Despite being some ways from goal, the referee decided Williams was still the last man and denied a clear goal scoring opportunity. So with the time winding down, Tivoli got desperate and threw many bodies forward, which of course made them vulnerable to counters, and Richters would cap off a decent second half performance with a long range shot that beat Francis and killed the match off for good. 2-0, and the champs became the first team to beat Tivoli on this ground in years. So that was a big win by Cavalier, but how was the game in terms of stats? Tivoli actually saw more of the ball with 65% and actually had more total shots in the end with 9 compared to Cavalier's 5. And there were a lot of fouls in the game, 32 infringements in fact. Okay, let's begin with Cavalier. After the surprise early exit from the Caribbean Cup, this result was exactly what they needed. Coach Rudolph Speed would especially be pleased when he considered they only just came back from a long trip to Barbados in midweek. As for Tivoli, they are just a mixed bag at the moment with very little consistency throughout 90 minutes, much less from week to week. But on the bright side, Fuller is back and he will definitely make them stronger for the remainder of the season. But for today, it's a 2-0 loss to Cavalier. Now we move on to the first Portmore Derby in Portmore this season, where Portmore United was hosted Racing United. Unfortunately, there's no footage of this match, so I can't comment on what happened in this encounter, apart from the fact that it ended in a stalemate. As for the match stats, Racing saw more of the ball with 55%, but Portmore had way more goal attempts with 8 to Racing's 3. But funny enough, well, according to the stats anyway, Racing had the lone shot on target. So yeah, based on this information, it's no surprise that this one ended up scoreless. Portmore's ultimate defense came through once more, but Racing should be slightly concerned now that's 3 matches in a row that they have failed to score. But again, sadly, that's all I got on this latest Portmore Derby. We will finish off this episode with a trip back to Jerusalem, where a very fun doubleheader was unfolding. First, it was Punishtown Police FC taking on Molynes United, and the Police First 11 saw a return from suspension for Ashani Brown. However, they would be without the suspended Ferguson, so Raheem Gale comes in and takes his place. As for Molynes United, there was a first start for Nigerian Michael Odobi. Devon Davis also returns from injury, but veteran striker Jason Wright misses out completely. Now, when the game started, it was a very confident start by the Police. Jordan Elliston especially was lively and got the game's first crack on target, but it would be Molynes with the game's first big chance, but then Rice Samuels did well to deny Barrett. But after that, it would be all Police. First, Elliston with this testing shot for Darren Denai before he plays a role in the game's opening goal. Wilson did well down the left before delivering a pinpoint cross to the back post for Elliston, who took it one time and beat Denai to give the police a well-deserved 1-0 lead. Then, 10 minutes later, they would double their advantage. Ryan Facey did all the dirty work before finding Diamond Clark, who saw his first team effort stopped by Denai, but kept up with the play and finished off the rebound to give Police FC the 2-0 lead. That would be the last major play before the halftime break. Second half now, Police were rightfully brimming with confidence and came out strongly out of the blocks to start the half. Molynes, of course, desperate to get back into the game, brought on their new Nigerian striker, Wisdom Yubani, and the new man made an almost immediate impact from a route one ball from Denai that saw it landed neatly in his path, and he lashed it past the stranded Glenroy Samuels. 2-1 and Molynes were back in the contest. And they would go on and find the equalizer some moments after, or they Murray with the switch out to the left hand side and found Livingston, who chipped a pass to the back post for the late arrival of Oke, who then laid it on a silver platter for his countryman Ubani, who was never going to miss from there. 2-2 and Molynes were now thinking they can go on and win it. And maybe they should have, if only Pennycook was a little more clinical right here, but Samuels got the best of him on this occasion. And he was almost paid to pay for that miss late in the game when Elliston was involved again and did well to set up Ricketts, but his shot agonizingly crushed off the post and away for safety. Tough luck for Police, as that would have been the winner, as the full-time whistle would be blown not long after that. So it was an entertaining game, but how would the game turn out stats? The Police were really dominant in the first half, and that's reflected in them taking more total attempts. But Molynes had more shots on target with 3 compared to the Police 2. There were hardly any fouls in the game, and yet Molynes somehow ended up with 3 yellow cards. Okay, I will begin with Spanish Town Police first. That first half performance finally showed their true potential, but they will feel bitterly disappointed to miss out on their first win. They were a bit naive in the second half, but at least the attack produced multiple goals today. As for Molynes, they were dreadful in that first half, which they had to make amends for in the second. They have their new Nigerian trio to thank for that, especially Ubani and Oke, who really showed their worth in that second half. But a huge chance for their first win was squandered, and now the task will get much tougher from here on out. So again, this very fun game ended, Spanish Town Police FC 2, Molynes United 2. Now onto our final game where Waterhouse were at home again to take on the newly minted Caribbean Cup semi-finalists, Mount Pleasant. In terms of the starting 11 for the home team, Earl Simpson keeps his place in the center of defense, so too does Kendall Deacon in the team, and Martin Davis was given a rare start in place of Mario Sims. As for the visitors, both Reggae Boys Carlees, Tafari Chambers and Joshan Anklin are in the starting lineup, so too is Reggae Boys reserve member Jomari Tope, but there is still no Warner Brown, so Raheem Edwards will lead the line. Now, when the game started, it was a very fast start by the host team. They had more of the goal attempts in the early proceedings, including this shot under pressure in the box from Thomas that flashed just wide. But after that, Mount Pleasant came alive and began to grow into the contest, and they would go on and take the lead in the 28th minute when Tope out-jumped everyone at the near post to power a header into the back of the net. A 1-0 and a bit disappointing from a Waterhouse perspective to concede from a corner. Mount Pleasant was now feeling the groove and kept up the pressure with 1 and 2 decent looks at goal in the aftermath of taking the lead. But the likes of Javian Bryan, Denara Thomas and Kelly Deacon have all been on great form, and they would all team up for the home team's equalizer. 1-1, and a lot of the credit goes to Deacon's cool calm finish. That will be the last major action of the first half. Second half now, and Waterhouse started with the same intensity like they did the first. They held majority of the ball, but Mount Pleasant did a stellar job in diminishing their goal scoring chances. Until the 82nd minute, when the field was finally stretched and Thomas teamed up with substitute Andre Fletcher to put in a dangerous cross into the box that Chambers had to leave his line for. Unfortunately for the new Reggae Boy goalkeeper, he got all man and no ball, which means a penalty was the verdict. Javian Bryan volunteered to take it and tried to be the hero, but he smashed a penalty straight down the middle and Chambers stood his ground. massive chance squandered by Waterhouse. But they smelled blood in the water at this point and would come again via Fletcher, but his near post shot was well saved by Chambers again. Fletcher and Chambers would go on and do battle once more from this free kick, but again the Reggae boy will come out on top. That would be the last action of the game as Mount Pleasant escaped Jerusalem with a point. So it was an interesting match, but how was the game in terms of stats? Waterhouse had more total attempts with 4, while Mount Pleasant only made 2. 2 were on target for the hosts, while only 1 for the visitors. And there were 5 yellow cards in the match, with the majority of them going to Mount Pleasant. Alright, I will begin with Mount Pleasant. In the grand scheme of things, a share of the points here isn't a bad result. But we are seeing firsthand how difficult it can be to juggle 2 competitions. As for Waterhouse, it was a massive chance for a famous win wasted. Mount Pleasant were clearly there for the taking, but Firehouse just weren't clinical enough. But one good news is the continued impressive performance of Kelly Deacon, who next to Mobay's Dwight Merrick is looking like the signing of the season. But anyway, once again this one ended, Waterhouse won, Mount Pleasant won. So that was all from this past weekend, but before we run out of here, let's look at the table quickly. Montego United remain in first place with 16 points from their 7th game. Racing remains in second despite winless in 3 with 12 points. Their Portmore neighbours Portmore United are right behind them with 12 points as well. Waterhouse are now up to 4th with 10 points. Cavalier make a big jump into 5th with 10 points. Chapelton Maroons slip all the way to 6th now on 10 points as well. Arnett miss a big chance to go into the top 4 with that loss. Treasure Beach are now up to 8th with that win, and Harbour move up the table into 9th with their victory as well. They leapfrog Dunbeholden, who slipped into 10th. Mount Pleasant are way down to 11th with 6 points from 4 games. Tivoli are hovering very close to relegation now with 6 points from 7 matches. Molynes United missed a big chance for their first victory, so they remain in 13th with 5 points. And Spanish Town also missed a big opportunity to move away from the basement, but they remain there with 2 points. But alright guys, that's all I got here on the latest review show. Thank you all for watching, and please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you all up to date on everything in the JPL leading up to the final in May. Otherwise, for great JPL content, you're already at the right place, JPL fan. YouTube, big up yourself.